up, Rad fam? Have you ever wanted to go bike touring with a friend or a family member, sibling, partner, but you're worried that you might lose your mind having to travel with them day in and day out? Well,
here's our top 10 tips to making it work with a partner on the road.
Indeed, traveling with someone else. How do you do it? Here's our advice. Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to the Rad Bike Adventure. I'm Darren.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're the Rad Bike Adventure.
Rad.
We're gonna have a rad discussion.
We're gonna have a radical discussion about traveling with someone else. We have been asked this many times. I've said I was gonna make this video like months ago, but here it is. We're talking all about traveling with a partner and how we made it work. Because I feel like, we're still together. We've gone on 2 big bike tours together so far. One was 5 months and the other one was a year and a half. And hey, we've been together over 8 years. We haven't wanted to run away. No, just kidding. Okay, tip number 1 is to know thyself. Now, you might think that's kind of weird to say that you need to know yourself in a video about traveling with others, but this is the most important step because you need to know what you want personally for your bicycle trip before you can even think about going to travel with someone else. Because if you have no idea, then where are you going with this trip? You don't know, you're just gonna get frustrated because you're not even sure yourself. So each individual needs to figure out why the heck do they even want to go on a bike tour. Kind of think about it, think about the whys. Really start to ask yourself, how far do I want to go? Do I want to be camping? Do I want to stay in a hotel? Do I want to go on a culinary tour of this place? Or do I want to go climb a bunch of mountains? Or do I want to go do rail trails and keep it really flat and a little easier on the knees? What is it that you want? And after you've done that,
that leads us to our second tip, is you got to talk to your partner. You got to, once you figured out the theme of your trip or what you would like to do, you guys got to come together and create that theme. And whether it's, you got to compromise, or maybe you don't have to compromise so much because you are on the same page, but you have to talk to each other beforehand to discuss, whether you want this trip to be a wine tour or you want it to be a race across America to see how fast you can go. There are some people that are going to be, on both camps or somewhere in between, and you got to make sure that you're going to be on the same page. Yeah,
at least somewhat. Like, there's always going to be a little compromise, but you need to know that you have similar desires because not everyone is a compatible travel partner. I mean, there's people that I absolutely adore and love as friends that maybe a bike tour with them wouldn't work, or I'd have to adjust how I tour because they're going to want something different. And that's possible too. But you need to know that going in before you just are like, hey, let's go on a bike tour together. And then you're just arguing the whole time because you didn't realize you both wanted 2 different things.
You just didn't talk about it.
And
so that leads us into our tip number 3 is go on a practice run, do an overnighter, see what works with each other, figure out, does this person even know how to set up their tent? Am I going to have to help them with that and what you're capable of doing? And then you guys can come together and figure out, what needs to be worked on.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wouldn't wait to the trip to figure that out.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah.
Figured out what your trip is. You've practiced together. You need to also come up with...
Tip number 4 is you should agree on a budget, right? None of us like to talk about money or how much things are going to cost, but this can be a huge point of contention if you're not on the same page about how much money you want to spend on the daily. So someone might be like, oh, I thought we were staying in hotels every night. And the other person's like, what? No, I thought we were just going to camp, or I thought we were going to wild camp on the side of the road. Even for us, we probably could have discussed that more. If we had that clear in the beginning, it would have made it a little easier because I was more like wanting to vagabond it and kind of go wild camping, and Darren was less, not that you don't like camping, you just like to have a plan. Well, I wanted to vagabond at hardcore, and Darren was not so...
Your previous experience was, I'm going to eat a beet and a carrot and PB&J, and I'm going to sleep wherever it is, and I'm just going to make do because I'll figure it out. And I was more, well, this is a vacation too. I would like to know...
More comforts.
I would like more comforts occasionally. But yeah, I don't mind wild camping. But we, partway through the trip, we did have to have that discussion of like, hey, like, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. This is what I want to do. And we came up with a compromise.
Deciding on a budget is going to really dictate what you can do, when you can eat out, when you can splurge and stay in the motel, or go to an Airbnb or something like that,
Yeah.
or maybe you want to stay with Warm Showers host or couch surfing. Again, things to discuss beforehand that kind of are like interrelated to the budget, because I feel like food and housing, essentially, those are your two biggest costs. So those conversations will kind of mesh in with the budget conversation. For us, we averaged about $1,200. We have a whole video about budgeting. A month, $1,200 a month. I don't even know what that is on the daily. I can't remember. 50. Was it $25, I think, USD a day each? Yeah, so it was $600 each per month. So that was kind of our budget to start with.
$50 a day.
Yeah, and then we kind of would go from there. I highly recommend using a budgeting app as well. Again, I talk about it in that budgeting video. But for now, let's move on to tip number 5.
Plan together.
Yeah.
So you did your planning separately, you came together, but really plan together.
Decide on where you want to go.
Yeah, and the other person, one person may take the leadership role on the planning. That's fine. But the other person should have things that they want to do so they feel included.
Yeah.
And, say there's a waterfall you want to go see, or there's this, city that you want to go to.
Yeah,
let the
museum,
other
whatever.
person know, because the other person's planning and they don't know what you want. And then you get to the moment and you say, oh, yeah, I wanted to go do that thing, but we never planned it into the route. Or, not that you have to plan everything, but I think it's really important beforehand that both parties have an equal interest in the trip, so that not one person feels overwhelmed or not in control, or, one person's going to think like, oh, you're taking over the trip. But it's like, no, I'm not. It's just because you haven't told me what you want to do.
So it's like communication, as we're like gesturing with our hands. Communication.
So it's really important.
That's like the baseline of all of this, is just like communication. Talk to each other. Yes. But I think you're right. Like, plan together. Be excited. Get excited together.
And it makes you excited for the trip, because then maybe there's like a town you want to go to, that
a site that you haven't seen or that you've heard about, or a restaurant or a bar, or whatever, a brewery. It's in our case always the brewery. Okay, so tip number 6 is a bit more like practical, I think, on the daily, and that is to divide the labor a little bit. Traveling with a partner, or you have a few people that you're traveling with, it's nice to kind of know your roles. So when we would get to camp, we kind of had a certain routine that we just kind of fell into. We would both start setting up the tent together, and then Darren would finish doing the tent, and I would start doing like blowing up the sleeping mats and kind of getting our sleeping bag ready, and then you would start cooking dinner, and then I would start uploading footage and kind of doing stuff for the channel, videos like this, etc., etc. And it was just kind of nice to have like our set routines of what we would do. And it was similar for the morning. We kind of had a morning routine as well. And that just helped us to, just not be confused about who was going to do what. And we both knew our jobs. Not that it had to be like that strictly, but I think that helps.
Yeah. And then occasionally we would switch it up.
Or like who was going to look at the route for the next day. Sometimes we'd switch that up too. Like, oh, you're going to navigate today. And
then, you navigate for the next few days.
And
then
I'll
navigate
switch.
for the next. Yeah.
So
that definitely helped.
Yes. Again, just like dividing the labor, so it doesn't just become one person that's like in control of everything, which can be kind of exhausting. And then the other person doesn't become as involved in the trip. And it's a hands-on thing, bike touring. Especially with the navigating, it can be.
Which leads us into the next tip, which is compassion. Be empathetic to the other person. Whether that person is having a really bad day, or, they're just hungry, or they're tired, or they're frustrated because you haven't been communicating your wants and desires and needs. You're in a stressful situation. You're pushing your body physically, emotionally, mentally. Have some compassion for that other person, because maybe, they have a saddle sore, or they've got a little hitch in their gait, and it's
hitch in their
giddy up, and that set them off. And so just have patience and compassion, and try to think, if I was having that bad day, would I want that other person to be a little extra nice to me? Yeah, probably.
Right, like try to respond with compassion. I mean, what is good to just be flexible. You need to be flexible. That should be another point, is be flexible. That's like another, communicate and be flexible.
Yeah.
Because your partner might be like, I'm just not feeling good today, and I think it's important, unless like you have to ride, like
which
life and death situation.
Have to ride?
Sometimes if you're bike packing, there is a time where like you need to keep moving for survival. That's why bike packing is definitely a little bit more complicated. a little bit more advanced for
But
some
maybe
routes.
you have to change the route or you don't go as far as you did.
Exactly.
There's always like
you can make an
rooms.
adjustment.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
So be available to adjust and realize you're on a trip with another person. So they have wants and needs, and so validate it. And
Okay, number 8. You gotta take some time away from each other.
yeah, with all that compassion,
with all that said,
sometimes you just have to
you just
say
need to be like,
bye.
Get away. So sometimes that means riding separately from each other. Maybe at camp you start your duties and then the person wants to read or they just want to be on their phone, and like just give each other a little bit of space.
Go get water. Go
get
hike
water.
for some water. And that could be your alone time.
Talk to other people if there's other people around. I find that when there's other travelers, that does help. Like I found that when we were just us always, like that's usually when maybe we'd start to like get on each other's nerves a little bit. As when there was other people, it kind of like created a little bit of a buffer.
A reset.
Yeah, because
you
you
would
just
also create a reset.
a reset. Yeah, like we were just too much time together, and you can do that. You can spend inordinate amounts of time with each other. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, just saying like, oh, I'm gonna meet you, or like even just cycling 50 yards ahead of someone, right? Like just giving each other a little bit of space is important. All right, so tip number 9, Darren,
is realize that stuff's gonna happen.
Yep, it's gonna get shitty at times.
You know,
It's a
things
challenge.
are gonna go awry. You're gonna go the wrong way down the road. Someone's battery's not gonna be charged. You're gonna leave your favorite shirt at camp and you're too far away to get it back, or you're gonna get stung by a hornet in the toe.
Don't remind me. Your chain is gonna be greasy and you're gonna have forgotten to clean it 3 days in a row.
Yeah, something's
You
gonna
get
happen.
lost.
Just realize no matter how much you plan, how much you prep, how much you go into the trip,
The nitty gritty details.
things are gonna go awry.
Yeah.
And once again, be flexible, be compassionate, have patience,
And most importantly, have a sense of humor.
laugh about it.
You gotta
You're
laugh.
on a trip, you're on a bike, you're propelling yourself across this planet on a bicycle.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but it's also kind of funny. So
And it's hard. So at
it's
times
hard.
there's going to be challenges. And yeah, I think the times where we could just kind of like laugh at ourselves and realize like this is going to be a great story later,
yeah,
they made it a lot easier to deal with. And then you can actually deal with whatever's going on instead of like having a tantrum, which literally just gets you nowhere.
Right.
Except exhausting yourself. So just laugh.
just laugh it off.
Laugh it off. Help each other. Your partners, your teammates. So you got to work together. Work to make it work.
Exactly.
Work to make it work. All right. And then,
Which leads us to our next tip.
Yeah, number 10. Finally, we're
You
at
were
tip
saying,
number 10. We got a
you know,
bonus
if
tip, though.
someone's upset, someone's throwing a tantrum. How come you're throwing a tantrum?
What's going on?
What's going on?
I'm hungry. And I'm tired. So eat something. Whenever you're feeling down, just friggin' grab a snack. Just grab a snack, Darren. Grab a snack. This is what always happened with Darren and I. Not that Darren was usually the one that's upset, you know. You guys.
You
can
mean the
imagine.
2 times that happened?
Oh, come now,
No.
come now. I'm an emotional roller coaster myself, but it was often that Darren would just be like, just not in a good mood. And I was like, Darren, you need to eat something. Or just that you were tired.
I was
You
just
didn't
tired.
feel
I was like,
good.
I don't
like
think I
just
can
very
go any
quiet.
further.
I'm like, you need to eat. She's like, no. I'm like, no, I'm forcing this granola bar in your mouth. Like a minute later. Oh yeah, I feel better now. One more bonus tip.
Bonus tip.
Bonus tip. Just get stoked. That's bonus tip number 11. Get stoked! You're going on an epic bicycle trip with a friend, a family member, your sibling, your partner, some stranger that you met on the internet. I don't know, but it's gonna be fun.
And you're going to have a
Epic.
story for a lifetime.
That's right.
Stories for
That's
a
right.
lifetime.
So try to remember that it's about having fun. It's about challenging yourself a little bit. It's about seeing the world.
Don't be so serious. Don't take it so seriously.
Yes, those are those were our tips. So I hope that you found it helpful. Speaking of how fast or slow you want to go, let us shout out Party Pace. Check out my Party Pace hat. Let's shout out Russ and Laura at Path Less Pedaled because they are awesome. And I'm sure you guys all follow their channel already, but if you haven't, Path Less Pedaled, come on, get down with the Party Pace. That's the way to do it. If you ride Party Pace, you're sure to have a good time. Tip number 12, bonus.
Just party pace it.
Just party pace it. Let us know down in the comments down below. Do you have tips for traveling with a friend, partner,
Any good
relative,
stories?
etc.? Ooh, any stories? Ooh, we're gonna get some long-winded comments. Yeah.
Come on, some
Dish 'em
bad
up.
trips.
Dish them up. Yeah,
Let's
what
get
went
some-
wrong?
What went wrong?
What went right? What went wrong?
Yeah.
Where did we go right? Guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Slam dunk a thumbs up. Slam dunk a thumbs up? I don't know what
Slam
that
dunk
means.
it.
Just
Click it.
click it, tap it,
Bop
bop
it,
it,
twist
boop
it.
twist it.
Pull it.
All right, that's it. We're done.